Hi, my name is DelmarshaeWalker. Welcome to my channel. I hope everyone is doing great today. In the news, you have been hearing a lot about D.L Hughley and Monique and that situation that went down about a contract dispute or some other issue that she may have had with him or whatever the case may be. I want to kind of look at it from a different perspective. In the past, I talked about my mom being a narcissistic type person and how it is growing up with a narcissistic mom. I did a video, and when I was in counseling, I came across this book that kind of helped me understand who she is as a person, and that, things that I used to think was my fault wasn't my fault. It was just who she is, and something that I can never change is who she is. So I will list that information at the end of the end of this video. So if you want to watch it or you want to get the book information, the name of the book is in the description box of the other video that I'm going to link at the end. So I want to kind of go from that perspective. And also, I think one of the things that she said or may have been mentioned is about black men protecting black women. And so I want to touch on that as well. In my household, when I was growing up, I spoke about being in a dysfunctional family. And my father, it was like four of us, three boys, and I was the only girl. And my father worked two jobs, full-time and part-time, and my mom didn't have to work. And so on this one particular instance, I don't remember what my brother did, but when my dad got home, my mom told him, and he whooped my brother. She didn't appreciate the fact that he whooped him, how hard he whooped him, or whatever the case may be. So she started yelling at him, at my father, about, don't be whooping on him like that, and this, that, and the other. So it got to the point where anything that had to do with the kids, it was on her. At that point, the only thing my father did was worked two jobs, full-time, part-time, paid all the bills in the house, but he didn't have anything to do with raising the kids. Even when my mom would come back to him and say, well, say something to this one, or this one did this, or whatever the case may be, he wouldn't do anything. And even with me being a girl, there have been times where I would, when I would get old enough that I can go like to the movies, different places like that, I would be out, and this was in the days where there was no cell phone. So I would be at a payphone, call for a ride. Dad would answer the phone. A vehicle sitting outside, gas in the vehicle. He would not come pick me up. If my mom was there, he would just automatically give the phone to her, and she would have to come get me. Or if she wasn't there, he would tell me to wait. And one time I was waiting so long, I'm calling back. I'm going to the payphone, I'm calling back. And he's like, well, she's not here. I don't know when she's going to get here. And I'm like, well, I'm ready to go home. So instead of coming to get me, instead of him hopping in his car, coming to get me, he told me to catch a cab. I'm like, I don't have money for a cab. He was like, well, I pay for it when the cab driver get here. He didn't care how much it was going to cost or anything. Once the cab got there, he paid for it. It's like how much it was, he paid for it. And he didn't complain about that. But it was like once she had that conversation with him and she started yelling at him, it's like he checked out. And another example I want to give is with, this was like during the height of the George Floyd situation. And it was a man, he was on YouTube, and he was videotaping a peaceful, quote unquote, protest. And so it was a young girl there, a young black girl there. He was black, and it was a young black girl there. And he was telling her, stop throwing the things at the police because you're agitating them. They're going to turn around and start shooting rubber bullets. First time he said that, she didn't say anything. She just looked at him. So he repeated himself. He wasn't being rude. He wasn't being nasty. He just repeated himself. He was like, hey, y'all need to stop throwing stuff at the police because they're going to get agitated and start shooting rubber bullets. She turned around with an attitude and started telling him, oh, they're not going to do anything. We've been out here throwing stuff at the police. They're not going to do this. Everything what they're not going to do. They turned around, started shooting rubber bullets, and she got hit with one of the rubber bullets. I'm watching this. As a female, I started laughing. The reason I started laughing was, and the man who was videotaping that, he was like, oh, it's time for me to go. Everybody else start, running, dispersing and everything. And she's like, oh, I got hit by a bullet. I got hit by a bullet. And she's bleeding. I'm not laughing at her pain. And I'm not laughing at the point that at the fact that she got shot. The reason I'm laughing is more of and y'all want black men to protect black women. Even when I was a child and my mother yelled at my father, I understood that situation when my father checked out. Men and women respond to different things in different ways. He's working 2 jobs. He's paying all the bills. He comes home. She tells him what my brother did. He disciplined him. I'm not saying whooping him or whatever. And like I said, I was young, so I don't remember exactly what happened. Or was it a severe beating, a beating, whatever it was. But she yelled at him. He checked out. So at that point in his mind, it was like, well, whatever you want to do with the kids, that's on you, because I'm trying to help you out, but you got a problem with how I'm helping you. And then the situation with the young girl, fast forward to the George Floyd incident. This man don't know her, but he's trying to give her advice that's going to help her. He's trying to give her advice that's going to protect her. Protecting black women, I don't know what some black women think that look like, but sometimes protecting black women is giving you advice that you should take because it's going to help you. And if he would, and by him telling her, hey, stop throwing stuff at the police, they're going to get irritated and they're going to shoot rubber bullets. If she would have been like, well, okay, and stopped, okay, and left, she wouldn't have got shot. So in situations where men, and like with my mom, my dad was trying to help her in that situation, even if he didn't agree with her, even if she didn't agree with how he handled it, she could have handled it differently that will allow him to still be a part of disciplining her sons. But when she's like, well, don't do this, I don't want you whooping them, he took it in his mind, he took it a whole nother level. So now when she do want help, it's like, no, because when I tried to help you, you didn't want my help, so I'm not going to help you. So even, like I said, even as a child, that's one of the things I learned from that situation is, even if you don't agree with, and that's why communication is very important also, and that's why it's very important to me, because even if you don't agree with what a person is doing, it's a way you come at that person. She could have waited until she was calmed down to say something to him, or she could have approached the situation in a totally different way where, hey, I still want you there, I still want you involved, but can we try something else other than beating because of this reason or that reason? But just to go off, and sometimes that's what women do. They find themselves in a situation, like I said, my dad trying to help my mom, she's going off. This guy is trying to help this girl by saying, hey, don't do that. She turned around and just started going off on him. A lot of times black women has a tendency to go off on a man, whether it's their man or a man. If a man says something to them, even if he's not being rude, even if he's not being disrespectful, it's like, oh, you're trying to tell me what to do, yada, yada, yada. So when men check out and don't want to deal with you or deal with the black woman or deal with certain women when they see a woman have a certain type of attitude or carry themselves in a certain way, they don't want to deal with them. That's the reason why. Men and women communicate totally different. Men and women understand totally different. So as a woman, you have to be aware of that. You can never put yourself in a situation where you're the man in the relationship. You should never put yourself in a situation where, even if you're not in a relationship, but you're in a situation where you're around men, you can't put yourself in that situation like, oh, I'm one of the guys, oh, I'm a dude, you know what I'm saying? Because they're not going to respect you on that level, or they're going to treat you, okay, you want to be one of the guys, you want to be a dude, okay, we're going to treat you like that. I know I have said in past videos how I have gotten in fights with guys, and I ran my mouth. I was very slick at the mouth. The reason I did that is because I didn't have, even though I had have 3 brothers and had a father, none of them stood up for me. So I never had a male figure in my life to like really just stand up for me to the point that I didn't have to argue with the man. So I could say, oh, well, I'm going to tell my father, or I'm going to tell my brother, and let them deal with it. If Monique has a problem with D.L Hughley, she has a husband. That should be a man-on-man conversation. If it's something that he did that's really, really bothering her, she need to have that conversation with her husband, so her husband can go to him and say, hey, this is what's going on. If she feels like he should apologize to her, go ahead and get that, see if he can get that apology from him. That's one of the things that I wanted to touch on, because I don't understand, if you're a woman and you got a problem with this man and you have a man, why are you arguing with this man? That's the point of having a man. Let him deal with that other man. Then the other part I want to talk about is D.L Hughley did an interview with Sway, and in that video he had mentioned about his daughter came to him about somebody messing with her, touching her. I don't know if he actually molested her or if he was, just touching her. And so the problem I have with that is, I think, if I'm not mistaken, Monique was molested by her brother. I was molested before. That is your story to tell, not someone else's story to tell for you. D.L Hughley was explaining that he dropped the ball when it came to protecting his daughter. That's why a lot of times you would hear me when I see certain things going on in the news, I always say, stop letting these men, as men, stop letting other men get away with this. Stop looking the other way. As women, if something happened to you, or even if you're a young man and something happened to you, go ahead and say something, try to get them arrested or whatever, because they do need to go to jail. I understand what he was saying, that he was told, because I feel that I was let down by the people that should have been protecting me, because I did say something, but nothing was ever done. So sometimes people find themselves in a situation where they're dealing with church people, and they may feel like, oh, it's hard to believe that this person would do this, that, or the other. And so D.L Hughley, to me, was a prime example. I felt this was more of a teaching moment than I got you. I feel like Monique was doing more of that instead of using this as a teaching moment. And she's always talking about the babies. Let's help the babies. Certain situation isn't about getting back at someone. Certain situation is about, hey, this is my experience. Like with me, I'm not mad at the people in my past because I can't go back. I can't change anything. So I want to use this as a teachable moment. This is what I went through. This is my experience. Maybe this will help you not go through the same things I went through. Or maybe this will help you navigate the situation that you may be in that's either like mine, close to mine, similar to mine. And so with the situation with D.L Hughley, I feel that was more of a teaching moment to say, see, even he had an experience when his daughter came to him to tell him something and he didn't believe her. A lot of women speak up about either being raped, being molested, or whatever, people don't believe it, or people know it's going on and they choose to look the other way. This is something that we have to stop. This is something we have to break. This is something that we have to move past. And no matter who it is, they're not above the law. No matter who it is, if someone coming to you and you're like, no, it can't be that person. No, I know that person. You need to look into it. You need to say, okay, let me give some merit to what this person is saying to me, and let me look into it for myself. Even if you don't act just like this or call the police just like that, at least look into what the person is saying to you about this other person hurting them. To me, that's what you should have been saying to the babies, if that's who you're truly looking out for. And then to kind of put her, the daughter, on the spot. One, because that was my first time in an interview. I don't know who was messing with her. I don't know her relationship with her father. They could have gotten past that. As of today, they could have gotten past that. They can have a great relationship. That's her past. She can't go back. Neither can her father go back and change that situation. So to bring it back up is if you ever been abused, certain things can be a trigger to you, and sometimes things may trigger you that you don't even know is a trigger. And for her to bring that video back up, she don't know if that was a trigger to that girl or not. And so I think that was very foul of her to do that, especially when the daughter had nothing to do with the situation. Like I said, whatever problem she has with D.L Hughley, her husband needs to be over there talking to him. Her husband needs to be dealing with it. Sometimes as women, we need to learn the best thing we can do is just shut up and sit back, especially when it's men business. If you got a man to stand up for you, let your man stand up for you. I can understand if you don't have a man to stand up for you or anyone to stand up for you, you have to stand up for yourself. That's totally different. But she got a whole husband. Let her husband deal with whatever issue that she may be having with D.L Hughley. Then the other thing that I wanted to touch on was, as Black women, a lot of times you see these Real Housewives of these Real Housewives shows, these reality shows. Every time you see women together, they're going at it, they're arguing, they're going back and forth. But they never teach young girls about conflict resolution. Right now in Orlando, a 10-year-old girl shot another woman that her mother was arguing with. They haven't charged the girl with murder. All the charges are on the mother, even though the mother didn't pull the trigger, but all the charges are on her, and so she's currently locked up. The other woman is dead, and DCF has her daughter. As a Black woman, one of the things we need to teach our Black daughters, our Black kids, not just daughters, but also men, young Black men, is conflict resolution. It's okay to disagree with a person without going back and forth and yelling back and forth with each other. You're not going to agree with everything a person is going to say. It's not about who's wrong or who's right, because sometimes you could have all the proof in the world to show that you're right. Some people are not going to acknowledge that you're right. Some people still will argue with you, even if they know they're wrong. You have to sometimes be the bigger person where you walk away from that situation. It's okay to say, you know what? Let's just go ahead and end it here. Let's agree that we disagree. You go your way, I go mine. Sometimes you have to be okay with not getting an apology, even if you feel that a person did you wrong. Even if everybody around you saying, yeah, that person did you wrong. Sometimes that person is not going to apologize to you for whatever reason. It's okay. You have to learn how to be okay with a person not liking you, because everybody's not going to like you. And even if the person tell you to your face, you know what, I don't like you, you still have to be okay with it, because arguing with a person who don't like you is not going to make them like you. Just say, well, okay, you don't like me, I'm okay with that, because you have to be okay with yourself. And so for her to keep going back and forth with everybody, it's something with her that she needs to deal with. because at some point you got to say, well, you know what, I'm just going to let it go. This is the issue I had, and then go straight to that person. This is the issue I have with you. Can we resolve it? If we can resolve it, okay, let's move on. If we can't resolve it, I'm okay with it. I'm going to move on. As Christians, that's why we are taught to forgive people who do wrong to us, so we're not holding on to that. Even if we never get anything, any acknowledgement, any I'm sorry, any I'm wrong, we still need to forgive them so we can have a peaceful life, so we can have a peaceful soul and just move away from that person. Because you don't have to deal with certain people, you really don't have to deal with. You can just go ahead and just chalk it up to, I'm not going to deal with this person anymore. This person is not good for me. I'm going to walk away from it. But when she keeps with that baby, this, my babies, my babies, truly help the babies. Truly teach them about conflict resolution. Teach them about, especially as a woman, sometimes it's okay to shut up. Especially when it comes to dealing with the man. You don't want to always go word for word with the man. Especially if the man is telling you something that's going to help you down the line. Or if you're dealing with, or if you're in a relationship and you know, sometimes you have to, hey, let me just step back, let me just calm down. And don't argue with your man in front of everybody, because now you're making him look like a bitch. You know, if you're going back and forth with him in front of everybody. Sometimes, like I said, as a woman, you have to kind of like learn how to hold your tongue and wait for the right time to say what you have to say and say it in the right way. It might seem like, well, why always got to be us? Well, sometimes it has to be us, because sometimes we got this mouth that doesn't know how to shut up. But basically, that's all I want to say. And I feel like whatever issue that she has with DL, she needs to let her husband talk to that, or the three of them get together or whatever. But I feel like it should be a conversation between him, the two men. And then secondly, I feel that she should just leave everyone else out of it. And everything isn't for social media. You don't have to, anytime you have a problem with a person, you really don't have to get, on camera in any way, shape, or form to discuss that. Or even if the person apologized to you, it doesn't have to be a public apology. As long as you know that person apologized to you, that's okay. I guess I feel like that because I come from a world before social media, where sometimes even if the person did something to you publicly and they truly apologize to you privately, that was cool. You didn't grab them and say, no, you did this to me in public, so we're going to go to somewhere public and you're going to just say whatever you have to say. No, if they came to you just one-on-one, hey, look, I'm sorry, I messed up, yada, 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 that was good enough. Now we live in a world where it's like, no, I got to put everything on camera. I got to put how I feel on camera. I got to put this on camera. I got to put that on camera. But like I said, the only reason I'm putting my business on camera, I'm hoping that it is a teachable moment. I'm hoping that by me sharing the things I went through in my life, in my past, that it can help someone, like I said, help them either navigate through life or avoid certain situations. So that's basically what I wanted to say. Enjoy the rest of your day. Peace.